Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast, where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Hunter Baltazar.
And welcome to this week's weekly recap. Apologies for not having a football preview and recap episode, but there wasn't any football.
There is no football. Never was.
Never was. But what if it was all just a dream? But for the weekly recap, we're going to go over the standard fare of football recruiting, a little bit of transfer portal news, and then men and women's catsketball, and of course, the wacky segment of the week. But let's start off first and foremost with football recruiting. And the first and most notable entry to the Kansas State Wildcat family from the transfer portal is wide receiver transfer from Iowa, former four-star Keegan Johnson. And Connor and I were saying that wide receiver was probably our biggest need in the portal, right alongside safety, which, we have 87 billion corners and like two safeties on our squad, but that's neither here nor there. But we finally got that number one wide receiver from the portal to more or less fill the Malik Knowles role. And I'm going to be completely honest, looking a little bit at his film, not only do I see a little bit more of Malik Knowles than one might initially think, I think that Keegan Johnson is a tad bit more refined than Malik Knowles and maybe a tad bit faster. So I know that's kind of a lazy comp because, it's literally the same player. But, Keegan Johnson, I feel like stylistically is pretty close to Malik Knowles. And I feel like that's something we would have lacked if we didn't get him for this next year. But Connor, what do you think about him?
Yeah, I really, really like him. Stats, it's really hard to garner anything useful from anybody on the Iowa offense because they have a pretty systemic offense issue there that has gone to all of their players to diminish their stats. Like Keegan Johnson, his main production was as a true freshman. He had I think 18 catches for about 350 yards and a couple touchdowns. So he produced as a true freshman in an offense that doesn't really utilize true freshmen, or frankly doesn't really utilize anybody. So that is impressive. And then he was hurt for most of this past season. So he only put up 2 catches on the year. He was a 4-star out of high school, and he drew significant portal interest. Nebraska was after him. Notre Dame was after him. Texas A&M was after him. That's the schools that we know of. And then K-State went out and had to outgun a school like Notre Dame or a school like Nebraska and a school like Texas A&M. And that's a recruiting battle that probably 2 years ago K-State does not win, probably last year does not win. But we've reached the point that, well, not only we're coming off of a conference title, so that's enticing, but also we have a significantly more exciting offense for a receiver to want to be a part of than we've seen in the past. So Keegan Johnson he's huge for the offense. And then I think you said it well, he does really fill a Malik Knowles role. And it is a little bit like lazy to use that comp because Malik is on the roster right now and he's leaving. So it's like, yeah, of course. But yeah, he's a little bit smaller, like not quite as tall. He's probably about 6 foot and maybe 200 pounds. But he has good reach. He's really, really fast. And he does have that alpha dog, number one receiver style to him. So this is a fantastic pickup for K-State. You really can't ask for a better start to a portal ad if you're K-State, I think. So at this point, we're probably looking primarily at safeties and defensive line, I'd imagine. And then if a can't miss prospect at another position pops up, then we'll evaluate that as we go. But yeah, I really like the Keegan Johnson edition.
Yeah, I do as well, especially because, that receiver room is, even with the incoming commits of Andre Davis, Jace Brown, and Wesley Watson, that's still it's not a room that has an embarrassment of riches because that room would be, assuming all seniors leave, would be Sterling, RJ. RJ is very good. So like I'm fine with the Z position being RJ. I just don't like RJ as a like an X, like a true number one receiver. I don't feel like that's like he could do it, but I feel like that'd be a misuse. Um Sterling, RJ, Tyson Struber, Brennan Hawkins,
Seth Porter,
Seth Porter, Xavier Lloyd.
pretty thin.
Not a lot of names that you no disrespect to them, but it's not a lot of names that we've had a great reason to feel particularly confident in.
A
At least
lot of unproven commodities there.
a lot of unproven commodities. So getting a receiver transfer that is a known commodity and a proven commodity and someone who has that deep speed to take the top off the defense, that's awesome. That's huge for this offense. Because now you have to account for Ben Sinnott, who's fast for a tight end. You have to account for RJ Garcia, who's pretty crafty already at his young age as a route runner. And, you know, if Porter does start at slot receiver, apparently he's freakishly fast. I believe it after seeing him on special teams and seeing him return a little bit. But you know, this is getting a lot faster than what we're used to.
Yeah. No, I don't really have much else to add on Keegan Johnson other than I'm happy that we were able to shut it down and take down some pretty stiff competition for him as well. So I think that speaks a lot to the excitement around the program. If we can make just a few more adds to Keegan Johnson's level, then next year we're going to be looking at reloading as opposed to rebuilding. So it's a much better position to be in.
Yeah, I agree. Goodness gracious. Uh, because it's not a video meet. Okay, we're just going to turn that off for now. Because it's not a video media, you cannot see what just happened with the camera. Just know that it's currently on its mid 2000s rave phase, and I will not be elaborating. But the the next commit is a JUCO linebacker from Iowa Central Community College, and that is Rex Van Wy. And just broad strokes about his film. First and foremost, he already plays Sam linebacker at JUCO. He fits in perfectly as a Sam linebacker here, probably slotting behind Gavin Forche for the long term, at least. Probably sliding behind Gavin Forche in the long term, sliding behind probably Des Purnell in the short term. But yeah, Rex Van Wy is another really solid commit. I think he's a full qualifier 4 years, right?
I
Or is it
think
4-3?
I think he has 4 to play 3.
Okay.
At least I think so. I honestly don't know off the top of my head, so that may not be accurate. But I do really like Rex. He is unrated. So first I was a little bit confused, and he didn't really hold many offers. Like this is somebody that you would expect that we may have added, like in the past, like fairly bare on the offer sheet. His only other offer is Iowa State for the Power 5 level. But you watch this film, which again you always have to do with recruits to make a true opinion on them. His film is really interesting. One thing I think stands out about him is his measurables. He's 6'5", 225, according to 24/7, and he does look the part. He basically, in terms of build, is a more filled out Crew Jackson, who just transferred out last week. So I understand why the staff decided to take him, because Crew Jackson in a few years just wasn't able to put on the weight. But Rex Van Wy has that frame that we're wanting at Sam, where I'd imagine one of his primary roles would be with being 6'5" and also having very long arms as well, would be to fill passing lanes on RPOs. And I think that that's what we want a Crew to be. But Rex Van Wy also brings some versatility because he's actually a pretty adept pass rusher and brings some decent speed and fluidity to the linebacker position as well. So there's a lot to like with Rex Van Wy. I think that he can probably maybe see the field a little next year, but I do think he needs a bit more time to really get like substantial, meaningful snaps, especially when you already have Des Purnell and Gavin Forche ahead of you at that position. So I'm not getting my hopes up on him uh, like being an immediate starter next year or anything like that. I just don't think that's his trajectory. But I do think it's possible that we see him uh, in some spot snaps and garbage time. But if nothing else, I think we probably see him redshirt next year. So I think we're maybe on track for that, assuming he has it available, which again, I'm not entirely sure on that. But I do really like his film.
Yeah, I do as well, and I agree with you in that he's probably not going to step in immediately, but that's almost like not a knock against him unless he develops very quickly, which that's happened to us what twice now. Saying
Yeah,
is like, well, this guy really needs time to develop, and then he just doesn't need time to develop.
yeah. So you never really know, I guess, but not getting my hopes up for uh an immediate contribution from him. But we'll see.
Yeah. So I think I feel really good. Well, not really good, but I feel generally pretty solid about our linebacking room. Des Purnell and I'm assuming Khalid Duke or Khalid Duke splits back down to defensive end. He's more natural there anyway. Um, Des Purnell, Gavin Forche at Sam. I don't care what anyone says. Jake Clifton should be playing Mike, and Austin Moore slash Tobio at Will. I feel pretty good about that. Now, obviously, there's room for another Mike linebacker, which I imagine we're probably trying to find somewhere, one way or another. But it's a solid linebacking room. You can feel good about that. And Rex Van Wy just slots in as another developmental piece to make sure it stays that way. Yeah.
I have nothing else to say.
But that is all for the additions for football. But there's one unfortunate subtraction. That is Whit Mitchum, the tackle. Or offensive tackle, I should clarify. He is entered the transfer portal. And this was another one where I'm just not sure that the path to playing time was really there for him. Because even if even if both Duffy and even if Duffy and KT both end up leaving this year, I still am insanely high on John Pastore. We still have Jalen Clem, who's apparently been coming along. You have Kingsley Ugu. You just have a pretty solid amount of tackle options coming up that, I'm not sure Whit Mitchum would have hopped in front of. So I completely understand and wish nothing but the best for him.
Yeah. Uh, it's unfortunate because he definitely had a good frame to work with, but I don't recall him ever really getting on the field. Because in that class, we also took Carver Willis, I think, was in the same class as I recall. He was. And we've seen Carver Willis plenty, but we haven't really seen Whit Mitchum yet. So I'd imagine he'll probably transfer down a level and probably tear up some guys there. But yeah, unfortunate because it's been a bit since we've seen a offensive lineman transfer out of K-State, as I recall. But yeah, so it's too bad to see Whit Mitchum go. But yeah, really, 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 really crowded room in the offensive line room, especially among the young guys. So not shocking.
Yeah. Because that offensive line, I feel like that's the one position where, unless we're getting like a 5-star, been starting since a true freshman type player, we don't need to pursue that in the transfer portal.
Yeah, that's just not a need. So it is what it is because we're going to be just fine on the offensive line with Pastore and Clem, Poitier coming back. We're going to be really good on the offensive line going forward. So I personally am not at all worried.
Yeah. Plus, you got other younger guys other than Pastore and Clem, like who's the tackle commit from this year that we both really liked?
Uh, Bulmer,
Yeah, it was probably full. Well, no, Voss.
Boss, yes.
Yeah, I, whenever we come out with the recruiting rankings in like 6 months,
That's probably about when it'll be. Yeah.
Don't be surprised if Voss ends up topping at least one of our lists, which would be me. I'm not going to speak for Connor, but he'd probably be at one at the top, near the top of my list for commits this year. But that's neither here nor there. Now we can move on to men's catsketball. And there's only one game that happened, and it was the K-State Wildcats just absolutely woodshedding Incarnate Word. They I kind of felt bad because it was kind of clearly bullying towards the end. It was it it was bullying. I'm not gonna pretend it was anything else. But it's another good Wildcat victory against a team that we probably should have beat by this much. So we can go over. Do you want to take starter or bench players? We'll do the opposite for the women's game, obviously.
I think I had the bench players last time, as I
So
recall.
so you can
So
take the starters this time.
yeah. Okay. So starting out, we have Keontae Johnson. He played 24 minutes, so really didn't play too much in the grand scheme of things. Went 7 of 9 from the field, 3 of 5 from three, 1 of 2 at the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 1 offensive, 1 foul, 5 assists, just 1 turnover, 3 steals, and 18 points. Really, really, really good night for Keontae Johnson. Then Naquan Tomlin, 23 minutes, 7 of 9 from the field, 1 of 1 from three, 9 rebounds, 2 offensive, so just off of that double-double, 1 foul, an assist, a turnover, a steal, ended up with 15 points. A lot of dunks for Naquan Tomlin this, including a couple, I think his only 2 missed field goals were missed dunks.
They were rim stuffs.
Yeah, rim stuffs. So he almost very, very close to being perfect from the field. Was Naquan Tomlin. But speaking of perfect from the field, David Gasson played 20 minutes, was 5 of 5 from the field, 1 of 1 from three, 1 of 2 at the free throw line, 2 rebounds, 1 offensive, then a foul, an assist, ended up with 12 points. He has not missed a shot in now 2 consecutive games. And I saw on Twitter, I think in the last 3 games, he is 23 of 24 from the field or something like that. So David Gasson is shooting out of his mind. His season percentage right now, I think, is like 72%. That is not sustainable at all. But
I mean, it'd be cool if it was.
It certainly would be. I will not hold him to that standard, but I hope he does. So we'll see. But a really, really good night for David Gasson. Then Cam Carter played 26 minutes, 4 of 8 from the field, 1 of 4 from three, 1 of 2 at the free throw line, 3 fouls, 3 assists, 1 turnover, steal, and 10 points. And then Marquise Noel had 22 minutes, 3 of 7 from the field, 2 of 3 from three, 2 of 2 at the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 1 foul, 8 assists to just 2 turnovers, 1 steal, and 10 points. So all the starters were in double figures in this game, and really all had good games for the most part. And then Marquise Noel continues to do a fantastic job distributing the ball. Had a really good night as well, but there's not really a starter that I think you can complain about, honestly, just based on stat line.
No. And I think my favorite part about it is we didn't play them longer than we had to.
Yeah.
We all got them out within, 26 minutes. Cam Carter played the most, but bench players was led by Desi Sills, who played 27 minutes, 6 of 12 from the field, 1 of 5 from three, 1 of 2 on his free throw attempts, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 turnovers, 2 steals, 14 total points. Dorian Finister, the true freshman, showed out quite a bit, actually. He looked very good pretty much the entire game. Played 22 minutes, 4 of 5 from the field, 2 of 2 from three, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, and 10 points, notably no turnovers. Tyke Green played 17 minutes, 2 of 7 from the field, 0 of 3 from three, 2 of 2 on his free throw attempts, 5 total rebounds, 1 foul, 1 steal, 6 total points, and an injury a minor injury that we will not be talking about. Just know that man was hurting. Man was hurting a little bit.
It was a tough scene.
It was a tough scene, but he gutted through it like an absolute, just a soldier. He was a trooper today. This happened Sunday.
Yeah, this was a while ago.
He was a trooper nonetheless. Then Ish Masood played 14 minutes, 1 of 2 from the field, 1 of 2 from three, 2 rebounds, 1 foul, 1 steal, 3 total points. And then Nate Aubrey got in towards the back end of the game, had 2 chances to make it a drop 100 bomb on Incarnate Word. Unfortunately, didn't get either of them. But yeah, it was a dominant performance. Apparently, Tyke Green got teed up. I don't remember that happening. I was at the game,
I
but
think it was one of those flop technicals.
oh, yeah, probably so.
But that's what I remember happening. It was one of those flop technicals where they like let the game continue and see what happens, and they call it after the fact.
Yeah,
So I remember it, and it wasn't like an awful call or anything, but it's just very frustrating. Like
that they're
when
calling it at all.
like I like that they're trying to discourage flopping. I think that's the right thing to do, but I think it's weird how they assess it.
Yeah,
Like I think the best way to discourage like an obvious flop is just to call it a block.
yeah,
And just like really reverse possession. Like I don't think we need to call it like a technical foul that like doesn't go on the like record or anything. It's
no,
just very, very strange. Which I'm that's a little bit of a side tangent, I guess, but really, really weird. But I mean, on this game, I this was an unfair game. I do think we kept our turnovers down. We were under 10 for the first time this year, I think. 26 assists to 8 turnovers and 26 assists on 39 made baskets is fantastic. We shot much better in the second half than we did in the first, and we shot 50% in the first half. We shot 68% in the second half, 60% from three. Free throw shooting, still a bit of a concern, but even then, it's a bit of a smaller sample size, and a lot of it just because a bunch of guys went 1 of 2. And like nobody took more than 2 free throws in this game for us. So 10 offensive rebounds is really good as well. But at the end of the day, Incarnate Word's just not very good. So there's just not a lot I think that we can truly draw from this game because they're just not a good team at all. We were a little bit slow out of the gate, I guess. If you
yeah,
wanted to have an actual criticism, but even then, we never tied and they never led. The closest it ever got was 1 point with like 15 minutes to go in the first half, and after that, we got out to a substantial lead, and it just continued. And so this game was never really truly in question. We scored 53 points in the second half. It took them like 8 minutes or something to score in the second half. I forget
yeah.
exactly.
It was something ridiculous. They just did not score, and I didn't realize it. I think the point where I kind of acknowledged that this was fully bullying, and I would have left if it wasn't for the extra attendance point, was whenever Naquan hit the three in the second half, and I just audibly screamed, "No one of that size should be able to do that." That's like that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, that was to put us up by 30 with 16 minutes to go in the second half. And then just 3 minutes later, we're up by 40 because they had not scored. And then they finally scored right after that. And I mean, this was just a utter demolition. We basically doubled them up. There's
Yeah,
just, unfortunately, just not a lot to draw from this game because of how bad Incarnate Word is. Dorian Finister, happy he played well, but it would have been concerning if he didn't
yeah,
because, I mean, like he scored 10 points in this game, which is 5 times as many as he had going into this game, like total on the year. So good for him. But yeah, there's not a lot to really draw from. Unfortunate that Abayemi Agiola still isn't healthy and wasn't able to play. Hopefully he's able to play soon just to give us a little bit more rotation with our bigs. But this is what it is.
yeah. The next time the men's catsketball team is going to be up against Nebraska at the Sprint Center. I'm not calling it the other name. You can't make me. And this is actually a game that one of us will be in attendance for. Won't
Yes,
spoil who,
it's me.
but yeah, it's Connor.
You didn't spoil it, I did. And so yeah, I am going as a celebration of being finished with finals because I will be done with finals when this happens. And they will have the Big 12 championship trophy present. So I will hopefully get a chance to see that, maybe get a picture with it or something. I don't really know what to do with it, I guess. Like, do I get to like hold it or something? I don't know.
Probably not. You probably don't get to hold it. It's probably
I,
behind glass.
yeah, they'll probably have like some security around it. They'll put the offensive line in like suits and like have them stand around it or something. But yeah, I am really looking forward to this at the Sprint Center. I am with you. I refuse to say the cursed other name. But yeah, Nebraska is a pretty solid team this year. They took Purdue to overtime. Purdue is really good. So definitely not a game that we can take for granted.
Which is like we did not expect Nebraska to be good this year, and lo and behold, they've actually been pretty solid.
Yeah. They've had a few head scratching losses. Like they lost by 20 to St. John's, which St. John's is still a solid team, but like St. John's is like 10-1, but they shouldn't be losing by 20 to St. John's. But they're a better team than I expected them to be, than most expected them to be. So we'll see how this continues. They did beat Creighton when they were ranked 7th, but Creighton is now unranked in 6-5. So take that as you will. Creighton's on a 5-game losing streak right now, granted all to Power Fives. But yeah, I am very excited for this game. Haven't been in the Sprint Center for a little bit now. I'm trying to remember the last time I was there. And it was for some random Big 12 tournament game, I think. Probably like 5 years ago at this point. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Should be really fun. Hopefully the Cats come away with the dub.
Yeah, hopefully. Now we can talk about the women's catsketball team, and unfortunately, they fell to the San Diego State Jackrabbits 78-82. And broad strokes problem for this game. There are two. First, we absolutely could not stop ourselves from fouling. And also, we just did not shoot very well. But, well, with that, we'll cover more. We'll cover that a little bit more after. We'll cover individual stats. I got starters this time. So, starting off is Gabby Gregory, who played 35 minutes, and get this, was 10 for 27. She shot the ball 27 times and was 2 of 12 from 3, 9 of 10 on her free throw attempts, 6 rebounds, 2 fouls, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, 1 steal, 31 total points. You cannot blame Gabby Gregory for this one.
She was trying. She was trying her absolute best.
Yeah. And next up is Serena Sandell, 36 minutes, 6 of 13 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 3 fouls, 6 assists, 1 turnover, 2 blocks, 3 steals, 15 points. Then Briley Glenn, 33 minutes, 2 of 6 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, 4 of 4 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 4 fouls, 1 assist, 2 turnovers, and 2 blocks, and a steal. That's 9 total points. Emily Everett also got the starting nod, played 28 minutes, 1 of 6 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3, 2 of 2 on her free throw attempts, 5 rebounds, 3 fouls, 3 assists, 1 turnover, 1 steal for 5 total points. Then Sarah Shamatzi played 16 minutes, 1 of 5 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, 2 rebounds, and fouled out in 16 minutes. That's not great. 1 assist, 2 turnovers, 1 steal, only 3 points. So you pretty much, I don't think there was a single person on this team that was not in foul trouble. I don't think anyone that played more than like 20 minutes was not in foul trouble.
Gabby Gregory, and that's it. She had 2 fouls, and that is really it. Which is weird because of how aggressive she is. Which
Yeah.
I guess some of that is that sometimes officials are going to reward aggressive play, regardless of if it's a foul or not. Sometimes you just get the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, she only comes away 2 fouls. Everybody else had 3 or more, which is pretty mind-boggling. In look at South Dakota State, their only foul trouble was for people who played a combined 24 minutes They made up 9 of the team's 22 fouls. K-State's starters and key reserves all fouled a lot. We had two players foul out in this game. So yeah, difficult game for the aggressive and high pressure defense of Jeff Mittie. But yeah, it does seem like Jeff Mittie teams a lot of times whenever they play aggressive, they do get penalized a lot, as opposed to like a Texas that plays very aggressively and doesn't really get penalized for it. But it is what it is. Just kind of gotta deal with it. Especially at this point, you know what you're gonna get. But yeah, rough game for a lot of the starters. But moving into the bench players, we saw 4 players play off the bench. Eliza Maupin played 20 minutes, 4 of 5 from the field, 1 of 1 at the free throw stripe, 3 rebounds, 2 of them offensive rebounds, 3 fouls, and 9 points. So pretty solid night. Not a ton on the stat sheet outside of the points and rebounds. In fact, nothing in the assists, turnovers, blocks, steals. So Eliza just did be existing out there on the court and doing stuff occasionally, which that is to be expected. But 3 fouls in 20 minutes for Eliza is honestly pretty good at this point in time, because she has been a little bit foul prone. Yeah, that's the word. Foul prone so far. But getting that a little bit more under control. Weird game to do that, especially considering how many fouls we had.
Yeah.
But solid game for Eliza Maupin. Jalen Glenn did not have a good game for most of the stat sheet. 25 minutes, 2 of 10 from the field, 2 of 9 from 3, 2 rebounds. One of them was offensive. She fouled out and then had a block. Did have 5 steals, which was really good. And then had 6 points. But for the most part, stat line wise, Jalen Glenn didn't have a great game. Again, it's tough to know the storylines of this game because it was not on TV anywhere. It wasn't even on streaming. I would have watched.
I would have too. If the UN didn't say we're not allowed to watch this game.
Yeah, for some reason, some international tribunal decided that this would be a war crime to witness this officiating performance or something. But
big basketball decided that we were not going to be winning or watching this game.
Naismith from the grave just wanted to screw over K-State again. Come on, man. The 2 more players saw the court for K-State women's basketball. Rebecca Dollinger played 5 minutes, did not attempt a shot, had a foul, an assist, and a steal. And then Heavenly Greer played 2 minutes, had a rebound, and that is all. So not a lot of bench production for the most part from K-State. Maupin and Glenn were really the only 2 who actually were rotating. Dollinger getting some spot minutes when necessary. I'd imagine came in after Jalen Glenn fouled out, probably. And then Heavenly Greer gets a few spot minutes as well. No Taylor Lauterbach is notable. Again, could have been injury. Don't know because there wasn't a broadcast.
Yeah.
So we'll see with that. Maybe she'll be back for the next game. But yeah, no Taylor Lauterbach in this one. And she normally starts. So
yeah. Yeah, so we mentioned at the very top that we shot horribly today. And it wasn't like South Dakota State was raining down threes on us either. They only attempted 14 and made 5 of them. We, however, attempted 37 and made 8 of them. That's 21.6%, including missing all 6 of them in the second quarter and just not being able to make one fall. Well, we made 3 fall. We were 3 for 11 in the fourth, but it's almost like the 3-point bug from last year has infected us again. And we've talked about it the entire year. If this team is going to be successful, there needs to be the third scorer. And it can vary on a game-to-game basis. It doesn't matter who. It could be anyone from Briley Glenn to Rebecca Dollinger to Taylor Lauterbach. It doesn't matter. If there's a third person that gets into double digits, that's the recipe for this team to win. And we didn't have that today. It was just Gabby Gregory and Serena Sundell. And they can't do it by themselves. They can't.
No. And we have to be more efficient shooting the ball as well, obviously. I mean, Ace and I, we realized this before the show. We took 21 more shots than South Dakota State, but made the exact same number. We went 26 for 72 as a team over the whole game. They went 26 of 51. So they were much more efficient shooting the ball. 3 of the 4 quarters, South Dakota State was above 50% or at or above 50% shooting. We never crossed 50%. We got close in the fourth. We were 47.37% there. But yeah, we just did not shoot well. We were 18 of 19 at the free throw line. And then South Dakota State, 25 of 33. So they did get to the line a lot more. So I'd imagine they were just attacking the interior because we just don't have a rim protector in there. So, yeah, that's the sort of game that you really wish you had a Yoka Lee, because I think Yoka Lee, like, we probably win this handedly because, again, not able to watch the game, but drawing an inference, it seems like South Dakota State was just driving as much as they could and drawing fouls as much as they could. So they were either getting high percentage looks or they were getting fouled. And that is exactly what they should be doing. And that's how most teams should be trying to attack K-State this year. So we'll see if that continues. But yeah, tough loss. South Dakota State is a good team. This is not like a back-breaking loss. They are like 6-4, 7-4, something around there, but they were preseason ranked, and they are a quality squad. So, I'm not like down in the dumps about this. I obviously would have preferred to win, but it's not the end of the season. I will say it is worrying that we've had a couple games in a row now where we have not shot well from 3 at all. It seems like this happens a lot with Jeff Mittie teams. They really get fatigued. It feels like they lose their legs, and that affects our shooting ability. And I'm hoping that that's not going to be another theme this year, because some of those games down the stretch last year were difficult to watch because of how poorly we were shooting the ball. We cannot afford to have another late season stretch like we did last year.
Was it the Texas Tech and the KU games that were back to back? That I think both were lost, and like combined, we maybe hit like 4 threes across both games. Because the KU game is when we went like 1 for 22 or something.
Yes, that was that game right before. We did have Texas Tech at home 2 games before that.
Okay.
But we won that game. So maybe you're thinking of the game where Oklahoma State scored like 8 points. And
well,
we did not shoot well in that game.
We played Texas Tech at some point while I was home, and I want to say it was like while I was home, and it was at Texas Tech, because I remember watching that with my parents.
Yeah. That one was right by a KU game, but it was a game that we won. It was a home game. Okay. So yeah, we did lose that game, and we went 6 for 26 from 3 in that game. So yeah, definitely did not have a good game at all in that one. But that was the story of the season, was either we were on fire and couldn't miss anything, or we just were helpless.
Make a 3 to save our lives.
Yep. And down the stretch, we saw more and more of couldn't make a 3 to save our lives. And that's pretty much how the whole season went towards the end. Just a lot of games where you lose your legs, which, yeah, this is very doomer for losing only 2 games and only having a few games like this so far. But it definitely is a little concerning that those same signs are starting to rear their head. And we did score 78 points. So we did score a lot. But it
wasn't efficient.
It was not. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. It was not efficient at all. 36% from the field, 21% from 3. That's not sustainable at all. 94% from the free throw line's good, but I mean, that's just very frustrating to drop a game in Kansas City like that. It is what it is. There's plenty more games. There will be some a little bit more tune up, but Big 12 play is right around the corner for women's basketball and men's basketball. So it is coming right up. So we'll see. But yeah, definitely a moderately concerning performance.
Yeah. But the next time the women's basketball team plays is up against Northern Colorado on Sunday. Then another game up against Morgan State on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Then on New Year's Eve, you open up conference play up against Texas down in Austin.
Yikes.
Given our propensity for post players, I have a bad feeling, but that's a bit farther down the line. But that pretty much wraps up the news segment. Now we can get to everyone's favorite segment of the week, and that is the wacky segment of the week. This week's question is, if you could move two places, if you could swap the location of two things in Manhattan, what would you swap and why?
So for me, I feel like I had a pretty good idea, although I could be convinced otherwise. My idea is to move Canes from the east side of town, right off of 24 on the way in, and swap it with the Burger King in Aggieville because, well, for one, I hate Burger King and don't think there should be any. And, but if we are gonna have a Burger King, might as well kick it out like of the Ville because it's weird to have it in Aggieville, I think. Although I could be convinced that there shouldn't be a fast food location there anyways, which I kind of do agree with. But if there was going to be a fast food location there, I think Cane's would be a really good one. That would be a killer line backup though out into the street. But I think that it would still be a really prime location. So and then also finally get Burger King out of the Ville because why is there Burger King on the Ville? But
I feel like the best argument against that would probably be the line.
yeah,
But
yeah, that or that there just shouldn't be a fast food place there because if it were me, I would not have a fast food location there, and I wouldn't even have that like strip mall gas station there. I would do something different. I don't know what I'd do, but it would not
well,
be that.
that'd get
But
rid of good sense. I can't have that.
what if I could guarantee that there would still be a good sense, just not there?
I'd be fine with it because
Okay.
there was another one in town next to Umi, but they got rid of that and it's a vape store now.
Oh, fun. But basically the same thing. But
I, I
but
I'm
I
not going to ask how you figure. I feel like my brain's not ready for that logic.
but no, I if it was required to be a fast food location still, I would definitely put a Cane's where the Burger King is in the Ville. I mainly partially because of my vendetta against Cane's or Burger King, I mean. But also just because I think the Cane's location right now is a little bit out of the way. So bringing it closer would and more centralized would probably be a good thing. But that's just me.
Yeah. I am also going to go with a restaurant, but I'm going to swap the location of the Power Cat Sports Grill with Buffalo Wild Wings. And the main reason why is this is something we've talked about a lot on the show, is that we don't there are places for chains in Aggieville. Like we're not like full on it has to be a small business, but it would prefer to be a more local chain. So like Tanner's qualifies because that's technically a chain, but they're only really in like the KC area. Buffalo Wild Wings, I just feel like, yeah, it's a sports bar. I'm not sure it really fits the vibe. And I feel like anything that Buffalo Wild Wings brings, Power Cat Sports Grill kind of brings on the same level. Plus, it's a local place that gets to stay local in Aggieville in a prime location. So the first thing that you're looking at whenever you enter Aggieville is not Buffalo Wild Wings, it's Power Cat Sports Grill. So it kind of sets the vibe of Aggieville to be a much better, specifically Manhattan thing.
That's a fantastic swap. I really like that. Uh, I think that's a better one than mine, honestly, because mine still ends up in having like a standalone fast food like right by the Ville, which I'd rather the Ville be like a more built up and pedestrian friendly area than like a area for like drive-throughs and stuff like that. That's just me thinking long term, but like I do think that would be a really good use of that corner space because it is like Buffalo Wild Wings is like it's like related to like what the Ville does, but I agree. I would rather that be a local place to like really sell like the like to sell Manhattan, like be a local feel because it is a little weird that like it is just like this like well-known national chain that you have in the Ville taking up some prime real estate. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good pick. But I would kick out most of like the national chains in the Ville. I Wingstop can stay, I guess, but like I I would kick Jimmy John's all the way out
Jimmy
of
John's
the
does
Ville.
not need to be in the bill.
Frankly, Jimmy John's doesn't need to be anywhere because I think it's awful. But I think Jimmy John's is one of the worst like fast food adjacent places that you could possibly go. I think it's the worst sandwich place that you can get to. But
I have a
um
vendetta against Jimmy John's, and you know
yeah,
exactly why.
yeah, we both hate Jimmy John's just for different reasons. Like you have an actual reason. Like I just think it sucks. But
That's a good reason.
yeah,
Yeah, I
but
I
get Jimmy John's out of the Ville immediately. There's
yeah.
no reason for it to be in the Ville. I think it's an absolute disgrace.
Yeah, take it and the real estate shop right next to it and make it a 54th Street. Just pull one from Kansas City and put it there.
Now we'll make the Alms group go somewhere. You know, they can be in Midtown whenever that opens. Like that's supposed
Yeah.
to be office spaces anyway. So
I'm
throw
just
them in
saying
Midtown.
I would never leave Manhattan, Kansas if they put a 54th Street bar and grill in Manhattan. I would never leave.
I'd love a barbecue place in the Ville too. A barbecue place in Manhattan that isn't Cox Brothers, I think,
Well, we're
as well.
getting one. The Hawaiian
Oh
Brothers.
yeah, now Hawaiian Brothers barbecue. That's allegedly going in by Canes. So allegedly, we'll see if that actually
Allegedly.
happens. But I remember hearing there was supposed to be a Brahms, and that was like 5 years ago. That has not happened. So
Hasn't happened. Mm-mm.
so we'll see. But I don't know. A lot of changes in the Ville coming though.
Yeah, which you can tell with the construction.
It has been perpetually under construction for the entire time that I was in undergrad and will continue to be for many undergrads after. So
Yeah, you can't even get in normally now. It's they still have that road blocked off from when we went for the Big 12 championship game.
I was gonna say last time I was in town, that Manhattan Avenue entrance and the Triangle Park entrance were both still like completely blocked off,
Mhm.
like and like completely shredded. The only way in to like go all the way down Morrow was on Laramie by the parking garage. Last time I was there. Although it
Yep.
looked like Manhattan Avenue south of Laramie looked like it was getting close-ish to being done. So then you get two instead of one, I guess.
Cool.
You still kind of have to go out of the way to get in anyways, but it'll be fine once it's done. It's just a mild annoyance while it's happening.
Yeah. Well, with that meandering bit out of the way, that pretty much wraps up this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. If you want to follow or contact the show, you can follow us on Twitter at Aggieville Alleycats. That's capital A, and capital C in cats. If you want to email us, we're aggievillealleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I'm at AC Edwards00.
I am at Connor Baltazar, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out the official Aggieville Alleycats merch store, where you can find such designs as the staff-approved Doomtang Clan, Play Sandstorm Cowards, and Neon Alleycats. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast, where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.